I wanted to talk about the con and the manipulation and how it works. I want you to be able to better understand how the narcissist works, because the more you understand it, the more you'll kind of see how they operate. It'll help you. So here's the scenario, and I had to make this video right now. The scenario is this. Say you're trying to arrange something for your church, and you have this you have people that you need in place to do different things, and you're in charge of it. So have you ever thought of this, where you've got somebody and they're not returning your calls or anything, so you're trying to get them to do one part of the gala, whatever you're arranging, and so you think, I'm not reaching them that way. I wonder if I tried a different approach, if I just try a different approach, maybe I'll get her to respond to my text messages, so I can get her to be accountable for the thing that she volunteered to do. Volunteers are kind of tricky because there's no direct power. There's no if you don't do this, you're going to get fired or you get paid. I mean, not so much with a volunteer. So you've got this thing, and you're trying to get this volunteer to do this thing for you, and she's not returning your calls. You've sent her a few text messages saying, hey, we're trying to figure out, what's what your agenda is. Here's the times that we need you. No response. You call her, you leave voicemails. So what you decide to do is to take a different tactic, a different approach. Okay, so you do this. You think of something that she really likes, and so you think that, hey, she really likes to be around one of the other volunteers there. She's got a crush on him. Okay, she's a young girl, whatever. So you say, hey, Zach is going to be there, and he really would like your help. So give me a call. We really need your help. So you think, hey, maybe that'll work. So that's a different tactic, right? And then you wait a few hours. Say it's a couple days before the event. You wait a day. You still don't hear from her. So then you think, well, there's got to be another way to get her to come out to this event. So then you might think about, well, now you're really getting upset, right? Because you're like, she won't return your text messages. She won't return your calls. She volunteered for this 2 weeks ago. She'd come up to you and said, I really want to do this. I really want to help out. And so you're still not able to reach her. Okay, so then you decide, well, maybe I need to be a little bit more forceful, So what might you do? Well, one of the things that you could do is you could use a negative approach. You could give her negative reinforcement. So you could say, and this, because you've talked to her before, that one of the things that she wanted to do was to be the lead, the head youth pastor for the church. Okay, because she had said she really likes it. She's really excited about it, and so you think, well, maybe I'll just let her know that this isn't acceptable, and if she wants to be a head youth pastor, this is not the type of people the church is looking for. So then you message her and you say, you text her, you're kind of upset now, right? You're just like, I don't know how to get this girl, I'm going to have to find somebody else to replace her. So, but you don't want to replace her yet, because you really don't have anyone to replace her. And you may have to do all the work. So, you're thinking, okay, she hasn't responded to the thing about Zach, having Zach, hey, Zach's going to be there. So it's like, so you send her a text that says, hey, haven't heard from you. We really need we really need volunteers that are committed to helping out. And that commitment means something that a youth pastor would have. That type of commitment is what we're looking for. So I'd really hate for you to miss out on this. So please let me know if you're going to be able to help out. And so you let it go at that. So, you wait and you still don't hear back. And so you try a different phone number. You call the parents' house. Hey, is everything all right with her? I haven't heard back from her. And it turns out she's whatever. It doesn't really matter for the sake of example. But I want you to understand that is how a narcissist thinks all of the time, except they don't have it drawn out like this. They are constantly doing that. That is how they view the world. So if they can't see, they have an idea of what they want. They're always having somebody volunteer for what their event is. That is how they run their life. They try not to have anything happen by chance or by accident, because that throws off their control. They have to have control over every situation. So they're constantly trying to get that volunteer, figuring out how to get that volunteer motivated to come do what the volunteer said they were going to do. So for an example, they always have to know what your hot buttons are. They have to know your strengths, your weaknesses, that you do have a crush, that you some of your things that you're vulnerable about. They have to know your vulnerabilities to be able to manipulate you, to get you to that church thing. Okay, but they're doing this all the time. This is not just something that, they think, oh, well, maybe this will motivate. No, they've already calculated that out, probably 5 moves ahead, because they have to move people around like chess pieces. Okay, they don't care. See, when you had to call this girl and you tried to motivate her, you thought about what would work. And you probably also thought about, well, I don't want to be too forceful because I don't want to hurt her feelings. Okay? Well, a narcissist doesn't care about the feelings, but the narcissist has learned that if they push too far, they're not going to get their desired reaction. So a narcissist is nice to you, not because they feel for you, not because they want to make you feel bad, or they want to avoid making you feel bad, not for the reasons that you think, though, because it'll make them not feel good about themselves. No, the reason that they want to make sure you don't feel bad is because you will abandon them. It's all about them, see? And so they go straight from are you with me to you're against me. They don't have that different levels of thinking. Now, if you ask this girl for her help, and you didn't hear from her, you wouldn't immediately go from oh, I haven't heard from her, to we don't need your help anyways, we never needed you, blah blah blah. You don't go from nice to mean all of a sudden, right? Because there's processes that you go through in your head, because you have empathy, because you're thinking, what is that girl going to think, and how is this going to affect her? So you have a lot of different layers to go through before you probably wouldn't even go to the level that the narcissist goes from. And that's from this emotional thing, from going from here down to here just in a split second. Okay, but the narcissist has learned through the years that they just cannot demand this of somebody, that they have to, when they play this down, they play it strategically, and it's not because of empathy towards the other person. They play it down strategically because they've tested it before, and they know that if they press too far, that they're not going to get that person to do what they want. Okay, I don't know if this makes sense, but there's a whole different emotional subset that we go through when we're asking somebody to do something for us. There's a lot of different variables that we take into account. With the narcissist, though, it's the emotion goes from here to here, but the behavior has to go down these different levels. That's why if you don't communicate back at this level, and during the whole interaction, if you don't communicate back here, they're emotionally already way down here. Okay, they're already in rage mode, but the behavior, they know from experience, they have to ratchet it down, just like normal people do, just like you do. If she doesn't volunteer, if she doesn't respond to you, again, if she doesn't respond to you, you don't emotionally go from here to here. If you can see it, from here all the way down to the bottom. You emotionally are just, I'm concerned about her. I wonder why she would think that. I'm trying to put myself in her shoes now and think, why would she not respond to me? All of that complicated, to you it's not complicated, but to the narcissist, that's all stuff they don't understand. That's very complex thinking. Okay? Emotionally, for the narcissist, they're from here, you don't respond back to them, boom, they're down to there. But behaviorally, they try to emulate us, and they try to take those little notches down, You see, they're taking the little notches down because that's what normal people do. And they've learned they have to emulate, they have to copy and pretend to be like a normal person. So that's why you get the rage. That's why they just fly off the handle, right? Because again, you don't do what they want. They're following a scheme. They're following a map. They're following a script that they have laid out for the whole day, for the whole event. The whole event has to go the way that they want it to go. It just can't happen it just can't happen organically. They have to plan it out because chances are that event, that church event, means something else to the narc. Where for you it meant volunteering and you're helping the church and you're helping them bring money, but you're not doing it necessarily for the attention that you get. You're doing it because it makes you feel good. You get to interact with other people. You feel good. They're doing it because they have there's another agenda in mind. There's another goal in mind. Again, chess pieces. People are like the chess pieces. And so that end goal in mind is where they're trying to get at. So if you're not volunteering, they're taking that as an assault against them. That's another reason that it goes from here to here. Because you're not following their plan. And you're not going to help them get their goal. So I hope that kind of helps you understand that emotionally, that's why they can flip a switch. They can go from 0 to 60. Like that, very quickly. There's a switch behind me, light switch. That's how they can flip a switch like that. Where we, on the other hand, we're like a dimmer switch. We just dial a little bit, and we may never go to 10, right? Or 60. We may never go to 60 because we have complex emotions and we take other variables into account. We take 1,000 different variables into account because we have empathy. Empathy is a very, very complex human process, and you either have it or you don't. If you didn't develop it at childhood, you're really not ever going to get it again. So I hope that helps. Anyways, you guys have a great day. Love you. We'll talk to you later. Bye.